never planned on opening the door that night. Snow was coming down in spirals, fat and glowing under the rusting streetlight that flickered like it had given up hope a decade ago. My apartment was silent, except for the hum of my heating unit, barely, functioning just like everything else in this forgotten part of New Avora district. I was halfway through cataloging a corrupted drone core on my holopad when I heard it. A knock. Slow. Hesitant. The kind you expect from someone who's either lost or running out of time. I froze. In this city, surprise visitors meant trouble, especially in the outer rings where cameras didn't work and the enforcers took their time. I waited. Another knock, softer this time. I almost ignored it. Almost. But then I heard a sound that cut through my routine paranoia, a gasp, fragile and pained. I moved. Not because I'm brave, not because I'm kind. I moved because I've heard that kind of sound before, 10 years ago when I was 16 and begging someone, anyone, to help my mother during the Sector 9 food riots. I remember all the shut doors, the silence, the way people looked at me, like I was already dead. I disengaged the bolt and opened the door 2 inches. At first, I thought she was human. Maybe a runaway wrapped in scraps. Her eyes glowed faintly under strands of wet silver hair, and her skin, translucent, almost crystalline, was bruised blue at the jawline. She stumbled forward, catching herself on the doorframe. Her voice cracked. I won't stay, just warmth, just a minute. I didn't answer, just stared. Her fingers left faint frost where they touched the frame. A minute passed. She looked ready to collapse. I opened the door wider. She stepped in and collapsed on my floor without ceremony, her breath hitching as if even breathing was a decision she wasn't sure she could afford. I carried her, barely, to the heatsink embedded in my wall. Old tech, scavenged and barely functioning, but it pumped enough warmth to keep her from freezing solid. I wrapped her in the last blanket I owned. She didn't resist, just shivered and muttered something in a language I didn't recognize. Clicks, hums and broken syllables that might have once been beautiful. I knelt beside her. Hey, can you understand me? Her eyes opened, too bright like backlit quartz. 18, she whispered. Dr. 18. I frowned. What? She coughed. The sound was dry, brittle. Knocked on 17, closed. You opened. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded like that made sense. It took her 3 days to regain her strength. In those days, I pieced together what I could. Her name was Relly, or at least that's what it sounded like when she spoke it. She was not from Earth. That much was obvious, even before she admitted it. Her physiology wasn't quite right, her pulse too slow, her body temperature too cold even when healthy. She didn't explain where she came from, not at first. Only that she had been traveling for too many skies, that she was being hunted, and that she had no one left. I should have kicked her out. I had nothing, barely enough creds to keep my light taxes paid and my identity chip active. But there was something about her, a kind of gentle resignation that reminded me too much of myself. She helped me fix the broken drone even though I hadn't asked. Her hands moved with precision beyond anything I'd seen in Terran mechanics. She interfaced with it like it was an extension of her thoughts. You're good, I said one night, as she fine-tuned a neural filament with a bent conductor. I was an architect once, she said without looking up, before they decided I was obsolete. Who's they? She paused, as if considering whether it was worth the risk to tell me. Then she said a word I had never heard before. Zaraneth. Didn't ask more. Not yet. By the 5th day, she stopped flinching whenever the wind howled. I taught her how to use my terminal to file false city movement reports, standard procedure when you're hiding someone with no ident chip. I even gave her a thermal coat. I'd once bartered off a street chemist in exchange for a repaired detox vial. You should sell me, she said flatly one evening. I blinked. Excuse me? She gestured to herself. You could make credits. I'm rare, illegal. There are markets that would pay. Yeah, I said dryly. That's exactly what I want to be. A traitor to someone who fixed my drone and doesn't snore. She looked at me like I was the strange one. Most humans trade strangers. Then I guess I'm broken. Her gaze lingered on me. Good. I like broken things. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and wondered what kind of world could discard someone like her. Someone brilliant and soft-spoken and barely holding herself together. I thought about Earth, about the way we treat refugees, the way the outer sectors pretend not to see suffering unless it costs. Them credits, maybe we weren't so different from whatever place she'd escaped. In the silence, I asked, "Why did you really come here?" Relly's voice came from the shadows beside my bed. Because I dreamed of a place that didn't ask what I could give. The 6th day was when things started falling apart. It began with the buzz of a low-altitude recon drone sweeping my sector. Unusual. The drones hadn't flown this low in weeks. Relly froze when she heard it. Her skin pulsed a faint teal, an involuntary stress response, she explained later. "They found me," she whispered. "I don't know how, but they did." "You sure it's them?" "Yes." Her voice left no room for doubt. We packed everything we could, not much. A few thermal cells, a datapad, the cloak she'd rewired with deflective shielding. She handed me a tiny chip. "Swallow this if I'm taken." I stared at it. "What is it?" "Coordinates. Memories. Proof." Relly, I don't even know who you really are." "I know," she said, and then softly added, "But you're the only one I trust." We went underground. Literally. The sewers beneath New Avora stank of old polymers and wet synth meat, but they were unscannable. Too dense, too ancient. We made it 3 blocks before the first hunter found us. It wasn't human. Its body was shaped like a man, but wrong. Too long. Too quiet. And its eyes, they shimmered like molten iron. Relly reacted first. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She lifted a palm and uttered a word that made the air crackle. The hunter twitched, then fell. Steam rose from its chest. "What the hell was that?" I shouted. She looked pale. "Old language not meant to be spoken anymore." "Then why do you know it?" She didn't answer. We found shelter in an old tram station, abandoned, rusted, full of graffiti and ghosts. Relly collapsed, her pulse flickering like dying stars. "You need rest," I said. "No, you need to go." "What?" "No!" She grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. "They don't want me. They want what I hold. My memories, my knowledge. They'll hurt you to get it." I stared at her. "Then we don't let them." She blinked at me, stunned. "You're serious?" "Relly," I said softly. "You're the first person who made this hellhole feel like more than survival. I'm not leaving you." Her eyes shimmered. "You remind me of someone I lost. Long ago. Before my exile." "Was she human?" "No," she whispered. "But she would have loved you." The drone came back to life with a smooth hum, cleaner than it had ever sounded, even when it was new. Relly didn't say a word while she worked. She just adjusted the neural mesh and whispered something in a language that seemed older than the circuits themselves. "Where'd you learn that?" I asked, crouching beside her. She gave me a sideways glance. "From someone I buried." I didn't ask more. By the 3rd morning, she stopped flinching at the sound of sirens. She began standing near the window, watching the streets like she was searching for ghosts. She never touched my things unless she was fixing them. "Do you know what trust means here?" I asked once. She tilted her head. "I think it means betting on someone who could ruin you." "Close enough." She smiled, soft, sad. "We had no word for it. Where I came from, obedience replaced trust. That sat with me all day." Later, we sat on the floor sharing rehydrated soup. Nothing special, just synth protein and salt. But she acted like it was stardust. "I knocked on 17 doors," she said, holding the cup in both hands. "Some opened, None let me in. Why come here? Earth's barely holding itself together. Because your species does something mine doesn't. She looked at me, her eyes glowing faintly. You make space for misfits. I laughed, dryly. Not here in the outer districts, we don't. You did. That night, I woke to the faint whir of scanners sweeping our sector. Relly was already dressed, eyes wide. They're here. Who? She didn't answer, just pulled a small chip from a cloth around her neck. If they take me, you eat this. What? It's encoded with my memory vault, coordinates. The truth about the collapse. The collapse? She met my eyes. My world fell, Alice, and now they want me to disappear too. Something in her voice, like a broken oath, made my skin crawl. We packed quickly. I grabbed my jacket, her rewired cloak, and a backup power cell. We slipped into the tunnels beneath my building, the old storm drains that the city forgot about. After the new AI-run infrastructure came in, she moved fast, even weak as she was. Like she'd done this before. How long have they hunted you? Since I refused to erase what I know. Then why not give it to someone? I just did. She meant me. I didn't know what to do with that kind of trust. When we reached the 5th undertunnel, Relly suddenly froze. A figure blocked the exit. 7 feet tall, humanoid, but too symmetrical, too polished. Its head turned toward us without moving its shoulders. One of them. I reached for my pulse blade, useless but instinctive. Relly stepped forward instead. You don't belong here, she said firmly. The thing spoke, voice like broken glass. Neither do you. Without warning, she raised her hand and uttered that old, crackling language again. The air around the figure trembled, then exploded in light. It fell backward, twitching. Smoke rose. I stared at her. What are you? Relly's breathing was shallow. Someone trying to stay alive. We ran. We found safety beneath an abandoned transit station. Relly curled up in the corner, shivering hard. I wrapped her in my jacket and knelt beside her. Why did you choose me? Out of all the people in this city? She didn't look at me. Because when I looked into your eyes, you weren't afraid of me. I should be, I whispered. No. You're the only one who saw me as alive, not dangerous. She closed her eyes. I stayed awake, watching the dark, ready to fight shadows. That didn't sleep. The next morning I woke up to silence. Relly was gone. For a second, panic bit into my chest like ice. I sat up fast, scanning the shadows of the broken-down transit shelter. Her cloak was missing. So was the small power cell. My jacket lay folded, neatly beside me. I bolted upright and searched the perimeter. Nothing. No prints, no sound. Just the echo of wind dragging through rusted rails and collapsed tunnel ceilings. I told myself maybe she was scouting. Maybe she'd be back. But some part of me, some part that had been left behind before, already knew better. I tried not to lose it. I kept busy, rewired the backup heater with spare capacitors, checked my wrist pad for surveillance updates. Nothing. Flagged yet. No signs that the enforcers knew about us. She'd taken the chip with her. That was smart. What wasn't smart was how she'd walked into the night half-healed, half-frozen, with enemies designed to track blood through cement. I punched the rusted wall. Damn it, Relly! I found her again on the 4th day. Or rather, she let me find her. She was sitting inside an old elevator shaft 20 meters below the collapsed north line. She didn't even look up when I dropped into the dust beside her. I told you to stay away, she muttered. You also told me you didn't believe in trust. Seems like you believed in me anyway. Her eyes, dull and tired, shifted toward mine. I couldn't risk them tracking you through me. I shook my head. I've already been tracked, hunted. I live in a city that would sell its own children for scrap metal. You think I'm scared of them? She didn't answer, just looked away. That night she talked. Not just fragments, not the whispered lines of grief she usually spoke when she thought I was asleep. Real truth. I was an engineer, she said, staring at the ceiling of the shaft. A creator of planetary minds. We built thought cores, artificial deities that govern time, trade, even birth rates. You made gods? No, we made tyrants, she sighed, and we did it smiling. Why? Because we believed control meant peace. Her voice was heavy, soaked in something older than regret. And when you realized it didn't? I sabotaged the one I helped create. I buried its logic roots so deep, not even its overseers could trace it. I leaned in. Is that what they're hunting you for? She nodded. They don't want me punished. They want me erased. I wanted to ask 100 questions. What did her world look like before the collapse? What kind of system would rather destroy knowledge than admit it existed? But I didn't. Instead, I asked, so why Earth? Relly stared at the cracked cement wall. Because this planet hasn't decided what it is yet. That's rare. The next morning, we moved again. Her energy was returning. She walked faster, eyes sharper. I could see her mind running ahead of us constantly, calculating danger, mapping routes, preparing for betrayal that hadn't come. We scavenged food. Hit an old refugee station that still had emergency rations, dry, chalky protein blocks. Relly made a face but ate anyway. How long do you think we have? I asked. She tilted her head. Before they find us? Yeah. Not long. We camped that night in the skeleton of an unfinished megastructure. Steel beams loomed like ribs open to the stars. The city glowed in the distance, gold and green and broken. Do you miss it? I asked, staring at the stars. Your home? She hesitated. No. I miss who I was before I understood it. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I get that. She turned to me. Do you think your people would protect me if they knew what I am? I hesitated. Some would. Some would sell you for a bag of chips. Then I was right to choose the 18th door. Later, as the cold deepened, she spoke again. There's a place. Not far. An old comms tower. I think I can reach the relay and upload the data. You mean the vault chip? Yes. If I send it out far enough, someone, anyone, can see what the Zaraneth tried to bury. Won't that expose you? Her jaw tightened. Yes. And you'll still do it? If I don't, everything I ran for, everything I lost, it means nothing. She looked at me. I need you to guard the uplink while I transmit. I didn't hesitate. I'll be there. We stared at each other for a long moment. There was no kiss, no grand romantic overture. Just a silent understanding between two people who had nothing, but gave each other everything they could. The tower was older than the city around it. A pre-collapse comms rig, buried under steel bones and blackout zones no longer mapped. They'd stopped using it decades ago, after the orbital links came online, but Relly said the underground, channels still pulsed with dormant pathways. Deadlines can't be traced easily, she explained as we approached. That's why it's perfect. It didn't feel perfect. It felt like a graveyard. Wind howled through the iron skeleton, and the floors groaned like they remembered footsteps they hadn't felt in ages. Still, we climbed, floor after floor, of broken glass and collapsed girders. Every step shook dust from the walls. My hands were scraped raw by the time we reached the control deck, but Relly moved like a phantom, unbothered by the cold or the danger. She reached the terminal, an old-world analog beast with blinking red lights that looked more ceremonial than functional. She unwrapped the cloth from her wrist and pulled out a thin, crystalline chip. This contains the last complete logic root of Zaraneth's mind, she whispered. Its blueprints, its flaws, its intentions. And you're going to give it away? She didn't hesitate. Yes. The transmission would take 23 minutes. That's what she said after calculating signal decay and relay skips. I need you to guard the west stairwell, she added. I glanced at my blade. What if they come from above? They won't. You sure? No. She looked at me, eyes soft. But I believe in you. I took my post. The hallway was dark, full of dripping pipes and old maintenance bots rusted to silence. My heart beat so hard it felt like it echoed louder than my boots. 10 minutes passed. Quiet. Then a sound. Too soft for wind. Too steady for rats. A shadow moved. Long, sharp, precise. I tightened my grip. Come on. It stepped forward, humanoid, but not human. Limbs too long. Head tilted like it was studying me. Chrome skin gleaming faintly. One of them. Halt. I barked. It didn't. I threw the blade. It dodged. Too fast. It lunged. Pain. It hit me square in the chest. I slammed back into a wall, ribs screaming. I pulled the shock emitter from my belt and fired. It hit. The thing convulsed, twitching, but not enough. It kept coming. Then, a flash of blue light and a sound like stars cracking. The thing dropped. Relly stood at the stairwell, hand raised, skin glowing with energy I didn't understand. You okay? She asked, breath shallow. I coughed. I've had worse. You're supposed to be transmitting, I finished. She helped me up. They'll send more, I said. I know. We fled. The comms tower was collapsing behind us, probably from the overload she used to mask the final data burst. Flames erupted along the upper decks. We didn't look back. The streets were colder now. Colder than before. Like the city sensed something had shifted. We found a safe house beneath the old hydropower plant. Bare walls, no furniture. Just silence. I sat, holding my ribs. Do you think they got it? They got enough, Relly said. And if they trace it back, they'll come. So what now? She looked at me, tired but calm. Now we wait. And we survive. Later that night, she sat beside me, her head resting lightly on my shoulder. You were the only one who didn't ask me what I could. Give, she murmured. Only what I needed. I guess I'm broken that way. No, she said softly. You're the only thing that works. We didn't speak again for a long time. Just breathed. Together. In the silence of a world that had already forgotten us, but couldn't ignore us for much longer. We didn't sleep much after the tower. The message was out, and we were now something dangerous. Proof. Of what? That a world could collapse by its own arrogance? That a runaway could carry the truth? Relly tried to act calm. She kept patching old circuits, drawing blueprints in the dirt, reworking escape plans she never meant to use. But I saw it in her eyes. She was preparing to say goodbye. Do you know what they'll do if they catch me? She asked one morning, while the wind howled like wolves outside. Erasure, I guessed. Worse, they'll rewrite me, strip my thoughts and use them to finish what I stopped. My stomach turned. And you're still here? I asked, half joking. I am, she said, because you're not like them. By nightfall, I saw the glow in the sky. Not auroras, not pollution. Ships, sleek black arcs slicing into our atmosphere, with silent fury. They came fast, I muttered. They always do, once they feel threatened. We gathered what little we had. Thermal cells, cloaks, my blade, a cracked beacon Relly refused to leave behind. Are we running? I asked. No, she said. We're hiding something and we'll protect it. We didn't head underground this time. We went high, rooftop level of an old solar farm. The higher you go, the fewer scanners reach you. It's stupid. It's risky. It's why it worked. From there, we watched. First came the drones. Black like wet ash. Then the ground crews, moving like insects, masked and uniformed, eyes gleaming with implanted optics. They'll find this block in 20 minutes, Relly said. Then we give them something to chase. We split up. I took a decoy, one of her old circuit cloaks patched with feedback nodes, and ran through the district like I had nothing to lose. Let them follow me. Let them think they had her. I sprinted down alleys, kicked through doors, climbed stairwells, and left enough heat traces to trick their sensors. By the time I circled back, my legs were jelly. But the chase worked. Relly was waiting where we agreed. Hidden behind a water tower, cloaked, quiet. "You came back," she said. "I always do." That night she gave me something. A metal disc etched with symbols I didn't recognize. "What is this?" "The real truth. Not just a broadcast. The core data, compressed, hidden. Only I know how to unlock it." "Why me?" She looked at me, eyes glinting with a strange softness. "Because when I leave, you'll still be here." I blinked. "What? Do you mean when?" She didn't answer, but I already knew. The next day they found us. Not soldiers, not machines. Him, the one she called Narek, tall, blue-gold skin. No visible weapons, but his presence was like standing too close to a power grid. "Relly," he said calmly, "this isn't you. I am exactly who I chose to be. You were designed. You don't get to choose. I do now." He turned to me. "You think she's yours? You think she's free?" I didn't speak. I just stepped forward, blocking her path. He sighed, and everything exploded. Pain, blinding light. The air cracked with energy. I hit the ground hard, bones rattling, but I saw her. Relly stood, palms glowing, voice screaming in that ancient language. One, that bent space itself. Narek faltered, caught in a web of force I couldn't see. "Run!" she shouted at me. "No! Run!" I didn't run. I tackled Narek, stupid, reckless, human. He threw me across the rooftop like paper. My head cracked against steel, but it gave her the moment she needed. She stepped in close, whispered something into his ear, and then he vanished in a shimmer of fractured light, scattered into the air like dust caught in a sunbeam. I was bleeding. Dizzy, fading, she caught me, held me. "You're insane," I mumbled. She smiled. "I learned from you. We didn't talk about what happened on the rooftop. I couldn't move for 2 days. The blow to my ribs had bruised deep, probably cracked something." Relly stayed by my side, barely sleeping. She cleaned my wounds with trembling hands and quiet eyes. "I had to erase him," she finally whispered the second night. "Narek wasn't sent to kill me, he was sent to bring me back." "As what?" I asked. She didn't answer for a long time. "A tool." I couldn't stop thinking about the moment before he vanished, the way Relly stepped into the light with nothing but her voice, her will. She didn't flinch. She chose. The power inside her wasn't a weapon. It was something deeper. Like the memory of a better self she'd refused to abandon. But I also saw what it cost her. Every time she used that language, whatever code or force it tapped into, it drained her. Her glow didn't shine as brightly anymore. Her hands sometimes shook when she thought I wasn't watching. She was burning through herself to keep both of us alive. We moved again, this time into the echo wards. That's what the locals called them. Abandoned biotech labs under the old medical district, where rogue tech was once tested on the dying. Now, no one dared enter. But Relly said the walls were lined with Faraday dust, impossible to scan. "Perfect for vanishing," she said. The silence inside was heavy, but safe. Safer than anything we'd known in weeks. I set up camp. She rewired what little power we could siphon. We charged up 2 decoy heat signatures just in case someone came looking again, but no one did. Not right away. One night, I woke up coughing, sick from the mold and the cold. Relly was watching the walls, eyes unfocused. "You okay?" I asked. Throat dry. She didn't look at me. "They've stopped chasing." "That's good, isn't it?" "No," she said. "It means they're planning something worse." The next day, we received a signal. Not from Earth, from orbit. Relly caught. It threw a hidden relay she thought was dead. The frequency was old, Zoranith architecture, masked beneath harmless static. She decoded it slowly, like peeling away poisoned silk. I watched her expression change, from focus to horror. "They're going to purge the district," she whispered. "A full silence protocol, no warning, no survivors." "They'll wipe out 500,000 people," I said, stunned. "That's the point." "We had to warn them, but how do you tell a city built on distrust that doom is coming?" "We tried. We posted fake alerts to emergency boards, hacked into forgotten networks, sent ghost broadcasts through VR cafes and broken terminals. Some people listened, most didn't. It's just another conspiracy," they said. "Or worse, aliens don't care about us. Why should we care about them?" Relly didn't cry. She just kept typing. "They won't believe me," she said. "Then they'll believe me," I said. "We triggered the old district alarm ourselves. Built before AI took over infrastructure, it still had manual controls, a siren that hadn't rung in decades. When it wailed across the rooftops, people panicked. Some ran, some froze, some stared at the sky, finally seeing what we already knew. Ships, silently forming above like metal. Gods preparing judgment. The ground shook, and Relly stood beneath them like a defiant storm. "I can stop them," she said. "How?" "By giving them what they want." "You mean the data core?" "No. Me. No. You don't get to decide this, Alice. Neither do they." We argued in the shadow of something massive, but in the end, she only looked at me and whispered, "I'm tired of hiding." Then she handed me the disc again. "You don't come for me this time, no matter what." And just like that, she walked into the open, skin glowing, arms raised, unafraid, and the sky answered. She walked alone beneath the skyships, no armor, no weapons, just her silver hair catching the wind and her bare hands stretched toward the heavens. I watched from the shadows. Every part of me wanted to run after her, to scream, to stop her. But I remembered her words. "You don't come for me this time." So I stayed, and I watched her glow like a falling star trying to rise. The ships didn't fire. They hovered, silent, imposing, like judges deciding if she was worth unmaking the world. For then one descended, it didn't land, it lowered, as if gravity bent to its will. A hatch opened, and a figure stepped out. Not like Narek, not like anything I'd seen before. Taller, wrapped in flowing matter that shimmered like liquid time. The architect. That's what Relly later called it. They spoke, but not in words. Their communication was something deeper, glances, pulses, the rhythm of breath, ancient, precise. I couldn't understand it, but I felt it. Regret, defiance, ultimatums, and then surrender. Not hers, theirs. Light enveloped them both. A cocoon of soundless energy. I thought it would take her. I thought I'd never see her again. But instead, it knelt. That being, made of stardust and sovereign power, bowed, and the ships above began to vanish one by one, folding into nothingness like stories erased from a book. Relly collapsed afterward. I broke my promise. I ran to her. She was breathing. Barely. "You didn't listen," she whispered weakly. "Yeah," I smiled, choking on tears. "I'm good at that." We spent a week in hiding. The world above us had changed. Rumors spread of a silver ghost who silenced the sky, of ships that left with no demands, no battles, no trace. No one knew the full truth, except me and her, in all. Time, the purge was called off. New Avora lived, barely, but it lived. Relly recovered piece by piece. She smiled more. Laughed once. I asked her one day, "So, what now?" She looked at me, eyes no longer glowing, but deeper somehow, like she'd made peace with her scars. "Now," she said, "we build." Build what? A place where no one has to knock on 18 doors before they're seen. So we started. One room. One wall. One broken solar panel at a time. Others came. The ones who believed. The ones who were lost. The ones who didn't fit anywhere else. We made space For them. Not because we had much, but because we remembered what it felt like to be outside, freezing, unheard. Sometimes at night I still wake up and check if she's breathing. Old habits die hard. She always is. And sometimes she wakes up before me, hand brushing mine, steady, real, alive. They called her a myth, a savior, a ghost. But to me, she's the one who taught me that home isn't a place, it's a choice. And I'll spend the rest of my life choosing her.